Hello.
This is Katrina Hofstetter with Cornerstone Legal. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. It's Friday, so
Woo
Fridays are
woo!
great.
Fridays are the best. We are so thankful you're joining us. You're going to talk about how about some important documents that go along with estate planning, and we just have a few questions that I think could really help families. The first
Fire
one,
away.
oh, perfect. Thank you. On a Friday. Um, what would be the best way to store an important document like a birth certificate, social security card, and how do you know that they're securely stored or a life insurance policy?
A great question. Well, first, I wanted to give you an example. When I do estate planning for clients, I have everything in binders like this.
Um,
And I encourage clients to add to that because the legal documents are really important. We want to keep them safe. We want to have them all together.
mhm,
It's really important that if you have your originals, you keep all those together. But there are so many other documents and so much other information that really can expand on that. And it just makes sense to have that all in one place.
mhm,
I love using those sleeves that you can get that have the hole
yeah.
punch on the
Mhm,
side. And I use those for deeds for clients. And I also think they work really well for things like birth certificates, marriage certificates, death certificates, all of those other like just documents and pieces of important information.
mhm,
The only downside is, I mean, these are big, and this is like the skinny version that I use for a single person. A married couple, it's going to be bigger. And so keeping something like that safe from fire, water damage, that can be a little bit more difficult if you don't have maybe a fireproof safe. So, I mean, putting it up on a high shelf away from a water source is going to help with that.
mhm.
Uh, Not everybody has safe deposit boxes anymore. So the fire protection, there are fire safes that you can get that would hold something like that. But I think to start, just having it all in one place and organized like that is going to be best.
Absolutely. I have to say mine are scattered and the binder would be a perfect help. What about if, so they have the paper documents. Do you recommend digital copies too?
It can be helpful, especially if you have people that you want to have copies of the documents. Not
Mhm,
everybody wants to run up all this paper.
right.
We offer our clients access to an online portal, so they're going to get a digital copy anyways.
Wow.
If you have your originals and you have the ability to scan them, I think saving them on like a USB can be really beneficial.
Mhm,
And just making sure that even the person who you've appointed first has a digital copy, even if you just send it through an email.
okay.
But yes, I think having a digital backup is always better than having nothing at all.
Agree. And gosh forbid, what if somebody lost an important document? What do you recommend?
That is a little bit trickier because there's always situations where if you had the documents done by a law firm, if that firm is closed or if that specific attorney is gone, it's hard to say where that file might be or whether or not the file might still exist. Worst case scenario, documents can always be recreated. If you have especially if you have a copy of it, you could recreate it. But if you have nothing, and I have run into that before where somebody says, I know I put this plan together, the originals are gone, can't find the binder, can't find the folder, don't even have copies. I mean, worst case scenario is you kind of have to start over. So it is really important to protect those originals. And it's a great idea to have the copies out there.
Smart. So smart. And I just have a question, like if there's a blended family, then there's documents in both families. What's the best way to go about that and have the right, make sure you have the right ones?
That that's a great question. I think first and foremost, if you've got a blended family, it's important for everyone to know what's going on because there can be some assumptions made that uh, maybe adult children are going to have a say in something when it's really the new spouse. And so having those conversations can be important. As far as the documents themselves, I think even making sure that the other sides of the blended family are aware that documents exist, Whether or not you give them copies or share those copies with them might be more of a case by case basis.
Okay.
But I've definitely seen some horror stories where you get the people that don't really want to share the information, so they're really tight-lipped about it, and then they pass away, and then all of a sudden this blended family has no clue what's out there. So I'm a strong advocate of just be open and share the information. And then if you are going to have a blended family like that, where you might have two different groups of people involved, even having two sets of originals can be a good idea.
That's a smart idea. Great idea. And going back to your binder, so some of the other important papers that should be in it, like how do you like put down your wishes for healthcare if you were in a medical emergency or something like that?
Good question, because it's not, like I said, it's not just about the legal documents. You want to make sure that you can put your personal spin on that. And I think it's important to have information about your medical wishes, and not just what you would want or not want, but there's basic information about each individual person, their medical history, that even if even if it's your spouse and you know it, in those moments of emergency you might forget. So documenting even the basic things: blood type, allergies, who are your regular providers, who are your specialists,
Mm.
what prescriptions do you take? Like, that is really important information. And some people will just do that and make a list and write it up themselves. I love that we're talking about this today, because my assistant Natalie is actually working on refining that process for our clients and really making it more robust, because it seems like I'm always seeing new information that can be really, really important to have out there.
Sure.
And so just having that as a complement to things like a medical power of attorney, funeral document, it really ensures that the information is there for the person who needs it. And also it can take away a lot of the burden from the person that you're putting in charge.
Yes, definitely. And it can be simple as just having it typed out.
Absolutely. Yeah, because it's not a legal document. You don't even have to sign it. But if you, for instance, have your financial power of attorney, you've got the document, that person's going to step in if something happens to you. They kind of need to know what's your income and where's it going and how's it getting there? What are your monthly bills? How are
Mm.
they paid? Is it a bill comes and you send a check? Is it auto pay, direct deposit? What is it? And so even just making out, uh, type it up, handwrite it, but what's your budget and how does all of that work? Um, Sometimes that can be more important in certain situations than having a really robust legal document.
Mm. It's
Yeah.
more straightforward and
Yep.
yeah, and it's just something that you like we go through our days every day and we don't even think about. It's just like clockwork and to have that written down would be so important.
Absolutely.
Mm. That's great information. Any other important things? Well, what about like I was thinking usernames and passwords to important websites? What's the safest way to keep that, but
Oh,
accessible to people?
right. There's pros and cons to all the different options. I mean, I have seen people who have like a physical journal or something where it's written in and they keep that in a safe. A lot of people keep it on their phones, but then how does your person get in your phone?
Right.
There are online password managers where you store everything there, and then you just have that one password for that online password manager that you have to make sure you provide. I I think because everybody's going to be different in what they feel comfortable with,
Mhm.
it's going to depend on, person to person, but just having it versus not having it is going to be important. Um, because so much of our life runs on our phones or on our computers.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people have the auto pays and the direct deposits and their social media and all of those things. It's a login for everything.
Yes, everything. And usually a double login. Some
Yes, all the different authentication things you have to
yeah.
go through now. So even having, like, a lot of things have pins associated with them once you
Mhm.
log in. My laptop has to see my face in the webcam before it'll let me in. So it's really secure. security questions, security answers. What street did you live on when you were a kid, or your first pet's name? All of these little things that we don't think about. So even beyond making sure they have the username and password, they might still get stuck if they can't fill in all the rest of that information.
Mhm. And get really frustrated and probably
Oh,
a time of stress.
yes, I will say there are very few situations on the financial side of things where people should truly panic. But it's hard to shut that down in the moment. I just would say that not being able to pay a bill, get access to a bank account, it is frustrating, but it is not the end of the world. It is
Sure.
going to be okay. But it's frustrating if you're worried about somebody's bill not getting paid, or just not being able to take care of things. But the medical side of it, the health side of it, that's where things are a little bit more important to focus on. Yeah.
You have such a calm presence, Katrina. You just make everything seem so like we can do this. We can do this.
We can. It's probably the mom in me.
I think it is. And I truly appreciate that because it can be so overwhelming to prepare these documents and just starting it. Just
It is. And I mean, that's why a lot of people start estate planning, especially if they have young children, because there's just so much out there to take care of. And you want to make sure that if you're gone, your kids are taken care of, and things just transition and they're able to focus on what's really important.
exactly. Because it is a challenging topic, but it's so important. And you need to do it for kids and spouses and oh.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Oh gosh.
I know that's a
I
broad
think
question.
I think that, I say this a lot to people. I think it's a common theme throughout my social media presence, but it's never too early to be thinking about these things. I work with clients all throughout different life stages, and, people who don't even have kids yet. But estate planning like this is not about having a lot of money or being later in life and ready to retire. Putting together legal documents and all of these organizational materials, they provide benefit to single people, to young married couples, to people with young kids. So it's never too early to start.
And we will share all of your information of how to get a hold of you, social media and websites, and that will all be linked. So thank you so much for taking this time because it like I said, it can be overwhelming, but once you start, you'll feel so much better and it'll be a big relief.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend.
Thanks. You too.
Bye.